And it's a beautiful day out in the city. And we're going to talk about, well, I mean, really, Montreal's most iconic department store, certainly was the last one standing. It's up for grabs. But what will become of it? That, of course, is the Bay on St. Catherine Street. It is iconic, and it shut down last week, and apparently developers are actually lining up to buy it. The building is a 134-year-old heritage site, and of course it's really helped to shape the city's downtown. It's a real landmark right there on St. Catherine Street in front of that beautiful square. And bids are already coming in. Glenn Castanheira is the director of Montréal centre-ville Business Development Corporation, and he joins me on the line. Good morning.
Morning.
So who owns the building right now? I mean, does the bank own it, or does Hudson's Bay still own it?
Actually, right now the owners are RioCan. They've purchased the building itself a few years back with an agreement with the Bay. So there's also a remaining lease for the Bay to occupy the premise. Thus why we need to wait the results of the courts to see who wins the lease, and therefore who wins making a deal with the current owners to redevelop the site.
How long is the lease?
And we don't have that information yet. We do know that all leases of the Bay were and are very long-term leases,
right.
Which really gives them a lot of value, which is why you'll see some locations where the Bay was barely making any sales while they were sitting on those leases because they had very, very good deals, and those leases are worth a fortune.
So are we selling the building, or are we selling the lease? I mean, when I say we, RioCan.
Yeah, well, and that's the kind of detail we don't have access to yet. From what we understand, both options are on the table.
Right.
But above all, it is a lease, which is therefore tied to the building. No one will be able to redevelop that property without having a deal with RioCan, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
RioCan can't develop anything until they know who owns the lease.
Right. Okay. And so that's going through the courts right now. But in the meantime, you're getting interest. It kind of surprises me. How many bids have you received?
So we're not involved in the bids. Those are informations we're getting from our communications with representatives of both the Bay and RioCan, and that are involved in the file. And so we do have confirmation that there are multiple offers on the table, not just for Montreal, but for overall portfolio of the Bay, but specifically for downtown Montreal. We know there are bids on the table. We don't know who they are. We will find out in the next 30 to 60 days. But we have to say we are not surprised at all because of how strategically well located that building is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Listen, I love the Bay as much as the next person, but I would have to imagine that it also has limitations. It's old. It's been carved. It's been a department store for how long? I mean, a long time.
Since 1880, I want to say 89 or 1891.
Long time.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes it so coveted?
Principally, really, location. Right. There are very few buildings in North American downtowns that have all of the assets that this one has. Amongst them, being seconds away from the REM McGill station that will be connected to the airport of Montreal. It's a 20-minute ride to Pierre-Éliott Trudeau Airport. It's a building that's directly connected to the underground metro station. And it is adjacent to a part of downtown that has been completely renovated. We talk a lot about construction. Well, that area is one of the few areas that have undergone construction and is out of it.
Yes. Oh, I remember very well the years and years of St. Catherine Street. Mm-hmm.
And it's still ongoing westwards, but in that area, Phillips Square has been completely redone. Burke's has completely restored its building and it is now a hotel. You have the One Square Phillips, which is right now Montreal's tallest residential building, being constructed right adjacent. It's really, when you talk about location, really hard to beat. Yeah. Now, of course, challenges, as you mentioned. It's a heritage building.
Yeah.
And that comes with restoration and maintenance challenges. But it adds a whole lot of value for many types of businesses.
Yes, although I also think that, certainly with the domestic market, people are always concerned about heritage. Like How powerful is the heritage legislation? Presumably they can't change the outside, but can they do things to the inside?
Correct, they can, and we really have a clear idea of what's possible, simply because the Bay, before the bankruptcy, had proposed a redevelopment project in 2021. Redevelopment project that was approved by the City of Montreal after public consultation. And it was a 25-floor building built on the northern end of the building, so on de Maisonneuve, which is the youngest part of the building, a brutalist section of the building. And it allowed for complete restoration of the interior and a smaller footprint for the Bay. That was the business model. So you can imagine quite quickly and easily, easy is a big word, for a new project to be proposed with a new developer, with a new leasee, to say, is it a 25-floor condo building or a 25-floor hotel building, or both hotel and condos with a large flagship retailer on the ground floor.
So I have to say, I've been spending some time in Les Cours Montréal recently, and yeah, I mean, that place is a ghost town. And I remember way back when it was also a heritage building and also went under construction, a big fanfare. It was going to be luxurious condos and luxurious stores. And I mean, honestly, now it's like a gaming center in the middle. And where I go to the hairdresser up there, there are a few stores still hanging in. But like, how do you... I mean, it's so easy for these big multi-use developments, so like residential, commercial, possibly some businesses in there, to just not get people moving in. How do you ensure that doesn't happen with the Bay?
That's a very good question. And the short answer is you can't. We can't ensure anything other than ensuring that the heritage aspect is protected. It's the risks that comes with the business sector. They take risks, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In the case of Les Cours Montréal, it is a very complex deal where you have multiple owners. The whole building is divided in many, many different properties. What you see underground is not owned by the same groups that own the offices, that are not the same groups that own the condos. A better example of this, or a successful example of this, is Ogilvy Holt Renfrew with Four Seasons. And there you have a great example of a large department store that has fused together, is making very good sales, and all that with a five-star hotel right above it, restaurants, spa, everything in the same building, with bright success. And
because there was one owner, what is this magic formula?
And it's not just one owner. There's a main owner, which is Carbon Leo, but you have multiple players. I mean, the key to success here is finding the right recipe that the market wants. It's important to know that in the case of Les Cours Montréal, it is a project that is of age, has reached maturity, and perhaps has overpassed it and is now due for a redevelopment. Ironically enough, I got an email this morning from new investors looking into taking the office aspect of Les Cours Montréal, and we'll be discussing shortly. There's always interest, and that's the beauty of a downtown, of a world-class downtown like Montreal. It moves a lot, but it takes a lot of money to make that move.
Well, and to your point, also some planning, because I mean, if you can't make Les Cours Montréal a success, which is on Peel and St. Catherine and de Maisonneuve, that is right in the center of the city. So that, I mean, that's good to hear, because I've always been kind of fond of that building, as I was very fond of the former Holt Renfrew building. But so, I mean, the one other thing I wanted to touch on was there have been some plans floated about using it in some temporary way for the homeless population as a shelter. Is that in anybody's consideration?
So again, not knowing what is on the table with the current property owners, I don't have a clear answer, but I can predict that it is not, and for many reasons. And the main reason, I mean, forget it. We mentioned homeless shelter, but let's just stick with the temporary use, transitional use. It sounds easy, but it is extremely complex to do a transitional use, let alone just permitting is an issue, but the other, insurance and security, and taking the risk of having a temporary tenant in a very large property while awaiting redevelopment can actually stall and kill a deal. Investors look for properties that are ripe and ready for redevelopment. A transitional use becomes a risk.
I totally see that, but I would imagine that anything to do with homeless population would be the city, no? The city would take it over for a little while?
Actually, the city subcontracts those to community groups. But okay. Yes, it's something that we've seen in Winnipeg, for example. The Winnipeg, the Bay building in downtown Winnipeg, which closed a few years ago, laid empty and actually was, unlike the case of downtown Montreal, had zero resale value. The cost of restoring it was superior to the actual value of the brick and mortar of the building. So the Bay sold it for $0. And it is now an indigenous group.
That's right.
That is doing social housing in that building with the help of the provincial government. So, yes, you would have city investment and provincial investment. But again, for a historical building with major issues and that is not ready for a refuge, it is not built for that. It would require tremendous investment that Again, je suis pas dans le secret des dieux, as we say in French, but the numbers just don't add up.
Okay, I'm going to have to leave it there, but super interesting, and I hope we talk again because I think most Montrealers really want to see something nice, a nice project come out of that building. Thank you, Glenn.
Pleasure.
That's Glenn Castanheira. He's the director of Montréal Centre-ville, the business development corporation, and they're kind of overseeing that Bay project.